this is Dr. with CMN presenting Nanny on Talk on Birthmark. So hello Nanny.
Hello Anshik, I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to have you here on Talk on Birthmark. So tell me a bit about yourself.
I am Nanny. I'm a singer-songwriter and I live in Hamburg, Germany. And I was born with a rare pigment disorder called CMN. So it's, the full name is congenital melanocytic nevi. Yeah, and those affected the skin pigment melanin is not evenly distributed, but forms cell nests, and in which up to 80% of the skins can be covered with birthmarks.
So how's your life in your country?
I grew up very sheltered with my parents and my 4 years younger brother in Rostock near the Baltic Sea. At the beginning of the 80s, there was no internet or no social media and very little knowledge about CMN. And my parents felt very, very lost when I was born because nobody told them and what to do or helped them how to deal with CMN or how they can take care of me. And yeah, back then the doctors positively formulated were totally clueless. They told my parents that there were no more than 7 people in the world having CMN and that my parents just should take good care of me. And because children like me often do not get older than 2 years or maybe as a maximum reaching puberty because of increased skin cancer risk. But today I know that CMN is not as rare as doctors told us.
So how people react to your news in your country?
Of course, there are always people who are looking astonished or stare when they see something unnormal where they are not used to. But most of them don't condemn you, but astonished and want to understand why you look different. I'd rather prefer to be asked open and directly why I look different. For instance, if you're smiling back, most of the time it breaks the ice and it helps to come in contact to the people, and then you can explain why you look different, and then most of the times the people say, oh yes, okay, yeah, good to know, and then they walk their way.
So were you ever bullied in your childhood, and if yes, who supported you?
Yes, actually I was bullied, but only when I turned a teenager. First I grew up and was a bright and laughing child from the beginning, but with the beginning of puberty, the teasing of my classmates began. Let me became shy, and I tried to keep my head down and in order to try to escape the teasing. But since I was already 1.84 m tall at the age of 14, hiding wasn't that easy. But thankfully I had many friends and my family who always supported me and stood by my side.
Where do you see yourself in the future? I mean, what are your future plans?
I would love to work even more as an ambassador for body positivity and for body revolution, as I call it, because I think it's not so much about that you're always love everything on your body, but it's more that it doesn't play any role in your life, because there's so much more about being a good person or being a sympathetic person despite your look. I want to spread the word that it's possible to live in a positive and self-determined and self-confident life, even with visible differences. I would love to be successful with my music. I would love to give concerts for people celebrating life and diversity. So actually I'm working on my next CD right now. So I just finished.
What is the name of the next song you're releasing?
So since I'm doing German pop, it's translated, it's 1,000 Colors, and it's obviously a song about you stand up for yourself and that you embrace all your differences and that you just find your inner strengths and that you're perfect the way you are.
So can you tell me something about your patient's journey? Have you ever consulted a doctor?
Yes, of course. I was in medical care twice a year until puberty and young childhood. A navy that looked suspicious were removed on an outpatient basis as a precaution. Altogether, I had more than 60 operations until I was 30 years old. And in contrast to back then, it was beginning of 80s, compared to today, and with all the knowledge the doctors have now, one would not remove so many liver molds anymore. So because today people know that the cancer risk is not as high as they thought it would be. So of course you have to protect your child from the sun because the skin is very sensitive, but every mother has to do it, even no matter if you have a child with CMN or without CMN, because the skin is easily burned. I had quite my journey, so I have, in addition to my liver moles on my navy, I have dozens of scars. That was my journey. Super.
What part of your body did have the surgery? Because I can see the nevi still in the neck.
People with CMN often have one big birthmark and then hundreds of small. My big one goes, like you can see here, up here, and till the whole back. So it covers the whole upper body. And then, of course, I have spread it on my whole body, hundreds of big, small, tiny birthmarks.
Any advice or something you want to say people with and also without nevi?
To people without nevi, I would love to say, just if you see someone who not looks normal, or who looks a little different, just be open, because it may be a very friendly person, and ask him openly what he or she has, because most of the time, if you understand what the person has and you understand, it doesn't matter at all, because it's so much more about being nice to each other than the look. And to all people who live with visible differences, no matter if it's a CMN, a port wine stain mark, whatsoever, it's worth daring to step out of your comfort zone and try to show yourself and to live open, even though it may take a while for you to feel comfortable with it, because people always will stare because they just are not used to it. But most of the time they are not your enemy, they're just curious, and it's worth every single step, no matter how tiny they are, and then you will learn that with every single step you will learn that you can go even further. Like for me, I started singing in a choir in the the last row, and now I'm singing in front of all the people. I have my own band, I write my own music, and I love it. And I don't know why it took me so long. So because I had to go my way. The quote I love is be proud of who you are and don't be ashamed of how someone else sees you.
Thank you, Nani. Thank you for such an amazing interview.
Thank you for having me.